Hi everyone, and welcome to week 4 of my life skills workshop. We're talking about communication, specifically professionalism. So let's dive into what we went over last week. We'll do a quick recap first. So we discussed last week the 24-hour rule. We discussed emotional versus logical thinking, the READ model, and also cover letters and resumes. And this week we're going to be discussing confidence, and we're going to be discussing de-escalation in situations. And these are going to be skills that you are going to be constantly practicing in and outside of the workplace, depending on your environment. So let's begin with confidence. What is confidence? So confidence, actually the original Latin word is confidere, and that meant have full trust. And this now translates into the word confident. And confident means that it's a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's own appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities, or the state of feeling certain about the truth of something. So to put it in my own understanding to share with you guys, is that confidence is having trust in who you are. Now, this is difficult for many. I mean, there are certain things that I absolutely do not feel confident about myself. There are, for a lot of introverts, I mean, even being outgoing and being talkative is frightening, and they're not very confident. So, essentially, what we're trying to portray to the employer, even if it's a little bit false, is that we know the skills and we know our abilities, and we know that we are going to succeed in those two areas. So how does this physically look? Because I can tell you guys exactly what it means, but how does a confident person actually look? So confident person usually has their shoulders back. Now, if you can imagine, if I walked into an interview with an employer and I have my shoulders up here and I'm very closed off and I'm trying to say, I would really provide a lot to your company. I'm very confident, I'm trustworthy, I'm very articulate. I'm too closed off. I'm telling them all of these skills, but I'm not showing them that I have these skills. So you want to have your shoulders back and down. You want to have good posture. You want to use smiling. Now, please do not smile the entire time. You're probably going to creep your employer out, and it's not going to end well. But I would say every so often, find the appropriate times and smile. And eye contact. Eye contact is so important when it comes to confidence. It tells that person that you're not afraid to be confrontational. You're willing to communicate effectively and let that other person know that you're listening and that you're taking in what they are saying and you're understanding. So confidence, for example, if I'm telling you, that I have all these skills and I'm looking down or I'm looking around me and I'm not making eye contact, that doesn't say that I'm confident. If I can't even look you in the eyes, I don't have the confidence to deal with other people in a professional manner. Now, is that true? No, but sometimes that's what the employer can understand it as. And we're all humans, it's all the interpretation of the other person that's important. So now with confidence and skill-wise, what else can we do to become confident? I think reassuring yourself, and not just in your head. We do a lot of talking to ourselves in our head. We give a lot of criticism. We give a lot of praise. Take some time to maybe verbally say it out loud to yourself. Like, you are very articulate. You have a very warm personality. You're a very inviting person. Kind of verbally tell yourself exactly what you are going to be. For me, what takes away, as you've probably noticed throughout videos, what takes away some of my nerves is speaking with my hands. This takes a little bit less attention from what I am saying because I do overanalyze everything that I say. So moving my hands kind of gives me that little bit of an extra distraction when I'm speaking. Kind of like a I hope that whatever I say is going to come out well. But find what kind of works for you. And I mean, maybe if it's a not very noticeable shaking of your leg, not a nervousness, not shaking the whole table or your chair that's noticeable, but something that will kind of distract you a little bit where you're able to not be so focused on every little single thing that you do. Because when you focus, you're going to mess up and your confidence is going to lower. And employers can catch on to that. So kind of find a little bit of a distraction in there. What else? Your tone. Don't be monotone. Have excitement. I want you guys to think of the best memory that you have. This incredible, fun, fulfilling memory, and have that in your mind throughout the interview. How does that make you feel? That makes you feel, excitable. And that's exactly what an employer is looking for. They're looking for somebody with passion and with drive and who's able to communicate really well with people and who's able to relate to people as well. When you're being confident, you're not afraid to share personal stories. A lot of times, as long as they are appropriate. And I've had this in interviews myself where I worked at a summer camp while I was in high school. And I was able to share some of my experiences and, have a very professional way of conveying those experiences, but also I add a little bit of humor in there, which shows that I can be highly professional, but I'm still human at the same time, and I'm able to relate on a certain level with people. So that's a great way to also emulate confidence and show that person that, I have the skills and I'm ready to use them. So now we're going to touch a little bit more based on de-escalation. So de-escalation is so important when it comes to conversing with people. As I said in last week, it's easy for discussions to just completely be misunderstood, for them to escalate, for ideas to not properly be conveyed, and it just turns into a big mess. So de-escalation wise, I think it's very important to be aware of the emotions. And I know it's hard when you're in a heated situation, but let's say, for example, we're going to use the proposal idea again. So proposal goes completely wrong and the employer basically says, I don't like that idea at all. This is not what I'm looking for. And now you respond with, well, I can't believe that you wouldn't do that. This is an intelligent plan, and obviously you don't have the brain capacity to be able to agree. So maybe it's a little passive aggressive in how you conveyed. Maybe it was very straightforward and you were very rude. So de-escalation basically provides that moment of where you're able to step back for a second, and it is needed. Do not get caught up in conflict, but take a moment and recognize first, okay, this is not going as planned. This is not going anywhere. Now it's time to de-escalate it. You're human. You're not always going to be perfect as long as you're not using any profanities or derogatory terms towards your employer or coworker that you're dealing with. At that point, de-escalation is rightfully maybe not going to happen. But in the case where maybe you're just overly angry and you have shown your employer that you're angry, de-escalation kind of is the moment where you step back and you're able to say to the employer, listen, I'm very frustrated right now. This is why I'm frustrated. Is there any possibility that we could speak about this another time? Or would we be able to sit down, collaborate our ideas together, and come to a mutual understanding on this matter? De-escalation doesn't mean that the problem is immediately solved. It means that you're able to take the situation and lower it from escalating it. So, what other ways could this look like? This could be also your employer coming in to work in the morning, and let's say you didn't meet a deadline on time, or you're way behind on a project, and your employer comes in and says, you didn't meet the deadline. That's a huge disappointment. Do I have to fire you? Maybe that person is very upset, that employer or coworker. Maybe it's a coworker threatening, well, you know what, I'm going to tell the boss that obviously you can't do your job. You know, there's an escalation right there. You feel threatened. You feel threatened of your position, of your abilities, of you as a person. It's easy to respond, but it's better to de-escalate first before responding. So this could mean that you're able to identify emotion. At the end of the day, de-escalation really revolves around identifying emotion and targeting that emotion. So you can say to that person, if you're in trouble by them, you know, I completely understand how you would feel. That statement right there, and actually identify, I'm sorry, you need to identify the emotion. You can't just leave it with, I understand how you feel, because that's not going to get anybody anywhere except for frustration. So identify. I can understand that you would feel angry. I didn't complete this on time. I should have, and this I should have, you're identifying with the person that you understand the emotion that they're feeling, and you understand how you've not followed through action-wise. And then follow that statement off with, you know, is there anything I can do? Is there any way that I could maybe have an extension and just get it done to the best of my abilities? Is there any way that after this project is done that maybe I could be given a second chance? Now, you might not always get the desired answer in that sense, where you might be denied that, and that's going to have to be something that you'll accept. But the de-escalation process is basically identifying and validating emotion. You're identifying where your wrongs are in the situation. And this can also actually be used if they've done something and you're angry with them. You can say, you know, I feel you should have. And you're going to identify emotion of how you're feeling and what should have happened and what the solution to this problem could be. In the situation that I'm explaining right now, you're basically asking what the solution to the problem should be from the person who you have wronged in a certain sense. So that form of de-escalation is always a great way, after something happens, how to handle it. General de-escalating of a situation when you're in conflict, remove yourself. Take that time. Just step back and say, you know what? Let's touch on this another time. So that's de-escalation. These are the skills I'm going to ask you guys this week to practice that in daily life. De-escalating situations even before they happen. And also being confident. Practice confidence. Go to the mall or something. Walk around the mall and see if people maybe notice something a little bit off. Maybe you're walking funny and being confident, but you're still confident. So it works. So thank you so much, guys. Have a great week.